Hey guys, what's up? Um, it's Vedic Evan here, and we're gonna talk a bit more about astrology. And don't mind this. I got that at it's a pretty wild party. Um, so the first elements we're gonna be talking about the five elements, and this is really important because you definitely want to make sure you know these because these elements control the signs. Like the signs themselves have an element, and it'll help you understand what the signs are. And as you go forward, you'll learn more and get to understand more about the signs once we get to that. So, the first one we'll start out with is it's going to be, if you guys can see it, water. Maybe it's bright, but so basically, water. It's all about fluidity. Um, like very like adaptable. It's a very adaptable element because it can like if you pour it in a glass, it kind of encapsulates the space, and it if you as you see the rivers and like the oceans, they flow into all sorts of different crevices. Um, so essentially, it's a very it's a very it kind of goes with whatever is being told in a way. Um, and it's also very receptive to different energies. Like you'll notice if someone has a lot of water in their chart, though they could be quite sensitive to other people's emotions. Um, but that you can't just judge it off of that. You kind of have to go into different aspects to really tell that. But that's kind of the idea. Um, so and also also yeah, there's constant change. Like there's change that happens with water, but it can be still as well. Like still like a lake or something like that. So it's the overall notes on water. The other name you can go by is apas, and to meditate on this element, just like maybe go to like the beach or a river, preferably a beach because it's a bit more calmer there, and just meditate on the waves coming crashing in. That will help you a lot in understanding uh, the water element. Next, we're going to talk about the air element as I speak. So this is a very airy thing I'm doing right now, speaking. Um, like air is going in, going out. Um, and it's also very active. Like air is always like there's always a wind blowing like rapidly in some direction. It's also very unpredictable. Um, like air can just go one way or the other. Um, it's it's a very unique element that way, and it's also air is very dry. Like there's no like for example with water. Water is very rich in like nutrients once you like purify it if it's salt water. But air is kind of just the thing that's important about air is that we need it to well survive because we need to breathe, and that's the kind of like the prana going like you're kind of breathing in the fresh air, and especially if you're nearby trees, that also helps. Um, and speaking of trees, air also makes them like sway back and forth. So air is very powerful. Air can be powerful, a powerful force. Um, and it's also very um, it's also very cold. Like tends to be very cold unless you live in a very hot climate. Air tends to be very cold. That's generally, and that like there's a lot of these things you can understand about nature and weather, and that can tell you a whole lot about like all these energies and all these elements and how they can kind of get interpreted as like kind of characteristics. But that's the lesson for another day. We'll go on and we'll figure it out another day. So also like I was saying earlier, air can be very dynamic, and the key word is moving. And another word for air is Vayu. Not in the Vedic astrology terms. And also the also this might help as well. So about the water one, tongue and taste are connected with water, and then for air it's skin and touch. Those are two keywords for those. Next is fire. Um, and fire is a very purifying energy, and it can also be used to. And the big keyword on this card. So this is fire. This is fire. Come on, focus. I don't know what it's supposed to. Okay. What it says here is transforming. Um, so how fire can it can kind of dissolve and turn something into something else. So so for example, when you're burning wood, for example, right? If you add fire to that, it turns into charcoal slash coal, and that's the transformation energy that fire brings, and is very intense because fire can be quite destructive, and it can be a very yeah, it can be very destructive, and it's also focus and concentrated, because when a fire is going, typically it goes up. That's the key thing about fire. It goes up. Um, as in water, it can trickle down. Then air kind of just sits in the air and just goes whichever way it wants. Depending on a bunch of factors like the tides and all that. And it's also very clear. It's a clear the and how I describe this is because have you ever looked at a fire directly for a long period of time? Because that sort of that that effect that you get, and then that starts to make things clear in your head because that's the energy of fire. Fire is a very purifying, and it's very it's a very clear energy you can focus on, and it can and fire also shines a light on things. That's more although this is a bit more advanced, but the sun also does that. The also sun also illuminates things. That's it's an illuminary, so it illuminates things. Um, and the body part that fire represents is the eye, and the sense it represents is sight. Um, Next, we'll be talking about the Earth. So Earth is a very stabilizing energy. Since right here, my computer, the walls, very solid. Earth is solid, stable, dependable. Because if I'm standing on wood floor right now, and this wood floor it will be like this even when I'm gone. It may be a bit old and rusty, but it'll still be this floor. Um, so it's a very another key thing to note is Earth element is very tough. It's a very tough element. So it's incredibly resilient. Also, the Earth energy is resilient to anything strong forces of nature or wind. And when I'm talking about Earth, I'm talking about the ground mostly, what we stand on. That's the Earth element. Um, and this is a consistent energy force. So and what it says here is constant. So it's something like I was saying earlier. This floor is going to be around, despite even if when I go this floor will be around. Unless there's extreme weather that hits here, I'm talking extreme. This floor is going to be here. And as opposed to air, Earth is unmoving. So air is moving. I believe fire also can be determined. Fire can move, but it's more swayed by the air. And the body part is the nose, and the sense is the is the smell. So those two are connected. So, and what you can notice out your nose, like it doesn't lie to you. That's for sure. It doesn't lie to you. But yeah. So those are all for the elements, but there's also another element that can also be used, which is space. And space is an accommodating energy. And as we all know, it is endless. Like, we are in a solar system right now that goes for, we don't even know how long it goes for. We haven't confirmed that. Like, I don't think there's been any scientific studies that actually confirm how much. But it's kind of like it's kind of like a state of being. So it's motionless, and it's very open, like expansive energy. And it's very yeah, and like all these, like space is kind of like it's kind of like the ether, and we'll talk about more about the ether as we get close to discussing certain advanced concepts. But and the space element is connected with your ear and your hearing. So, and that those, like, all these senses are necessary, right? Like, without any of these elements, even one of these elements, like, we wouldn't have, like, I don't think we could exist, actually, because we need all of these to kind of like determine, like, certain things about our body, because hearing especially is important, because and sounds in general, like, that's all around us, right? Like, that's something that's very pervasive in nature, like, very all around us. When you're in a crowded room, it's very, very encapsulating. So now that should be all. But one thing I want to show you on the back of these cards is these are what they're connected to in, like, the energy, the areas of the body. If you can see that, so those are like those are the kind of like chakras, but they're kind of like connected to certain parts. It's basically, you can combine them, because you can combine the chakra concept and this. Just that these are the elements that kind of like that are generally in that area of the body. But with that being said, I'd like to thank you guys for watching, and have a fantastic day. And yes, hopefully this heals.